It seems you can do anything in American football short of using a Tommy gun, so you mustn't expect me to explain the rules.
Players wear so much clothing, it's a wonder they can move at all.
Great deal for all the players in the league and everything else. Go out there and play this ball game like I know you can play it. Let's go!
Well, this is Any Given Wednesday, the NFL show hosted by two overseas fans who make up for what they lack in expertise with raw enthusiasm and a thirst for knowledge. Whether you're a seasoned supporter who will always think of the Dallas Cowboys as the glittering Super Bowl champions of the 90s, or a brand new fan who knows them only as choke artists who keep getting beaten in the playoffs, you're very welcome. I'm Tom Parry. And if I'm the equivalent of the wet behind the ears college coach with no experience of working in the pro leagues, then he is my maverick oil tycoon with a glint in his eye, a fortune in his pocket, and who's ready to take a chance on a newcomer. He's Hollywood handsome, he's cowboy tough. It's the gambler himself, Mr. Mike Bobbins, everyone.
That's the best one so far. That's the best one so far. You spoil me, Tom. You spoil me. I want to get all these printed out and framed.
How you been, Bubs?
Good, mate. Yeah, good.
Great.
Been under the weather the last couple of days, but I don't like to go on about it,
I'm transitioning from shorts to trousers, and I'm never very good with it.
It's that time of year, isn't it? I think that's what it is.
It's that time of year, Bubs. It's that time of year. Now, just to remind the listener, each week we choose a different NFL franchise and an aspect of it from its past. And by looking at the NFL's past, whether it's recent or way back when in Bubs' day, then by looking at the past, we seek to understand the NFL's present, whether it's players, games, seasons, events, personalities. And if you've got a franchise and you think you've got an angle that you'd like us to look at, then get in touch. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, Any Given
Facebook,
Wednesday,
if you're older like me.
NFL podcast. Oh, Bubs, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be anything as well. It can be, we said before, it could be a play, a coach, a player, a stadium, a game, a Super Bowl, a season,
a song.
A song? What? You mean like the, not the Chicago, not the, what was the one they did?
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Super Bowl Shuffle. The Super Bowl Shuffle.
We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shuffling on down, doing it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here to start no trouble, we're just here to do the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Well, they call me Sweetness, and I like to dance.
Oh, isn't it? There's an ep there.
Yeah, that's a podcast.
You can also get in touch with us on SpeakPipe, where you can leave us a voice message. That's at www.speakpipe.com/any given pod. We've had 3 SpeakPipes already, Bubs.
What? We haven't put a... Before we smash the fourth wall, we haven't put the first episode out yet.
Yeah, that's how much people want to use our SpeakPipe.
I don't
think I'm ever going to be able to... I'm never going to get used to saying SpeakPipe, by the way.
Get your hands off my SpeakPipe. I'm busy.
Do you want to hear one of them?
Yeah, please.
Let's roll into the first SpeakPipe.
All right, boys. My name is Mickey. I'm NFL curious, if you want to put it that way. I'm a Premier League fan. I support Aston Villa, and I've been looking to get into the NFL properly, but find it hard to commit without having a real team to root for. So I was wondering if you might be able to give me an equivalent franchise to Aston Villa, or maybe compare a few other NFL franchises to football teams in England, Wales and Scotland, so that I know who might be my team. All the best, boys.
Now, this I like, because I'm not just saying this is my favourite West Midlander, Tom.
Yeah,
I love Birmingham. It's the second city. It's my second city. It's my favourite English city. I love Birmingham. I love gigging there.
Yeah.
I'm spending time there. I love the people. I love sense of humour. So let's have a think then.
Great place, great people.
He's a Villa fan.
Shite football team. No, I'm joking. My dad's Villa, so I've always had an affinity with Villa.
Well, my dad, born in the 40s, grew up in the 50s, was a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan.
Oh,
because that was their sort of golden period. So I'm thinking, is that a match, Tom? Could you bring yourself to even say anything other than Wolves? I don't know.
What for Villa?
If we're thinking if he's a Villa fan,
yeah,
are we allowed to use Wolves analogies, or we got to stick to Villa?
I think you've got to stick. I don't know if you can compare Wolves and Villa. I'd say
I'm not. God forbid, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking if I'm saying you can't be objective here. I'm saying I don't know enough about the area, but where would Villa sit in the Wolves, Villa, West Brom, West Midlands pantheon? That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Wolves fans, I don't want you to come after me, but Villa have always seen themselves as the bigger club.
Right. Well, so we're going to go second city. Second city's biggest club.
Yeah.
Second city in.
I mean, Chicago's probably.
Chicago.
So you could be looking at the Bears, actually.
You're looking at the Bears.
Old team, storied kind of history, glory days in the past.
You could go LA as a second city and say, because they've had more than one franchise over the years. They've had the Raiders and the Chargers, and they've had the Rams.
I'm not sure we could attribute the razzle-dazzle that comes with California.
I've been to Chicago. It's Birmingham-esque.
Yeah,
right?
I'm actually quite happy with that. I think it calls itself the second
pains
city.
me as a Packers fan to even talk about sending someone down the Bears route, but it is the second city.
Yeah,
as is Birmingham.
Yeah,
it's blue collar as a Villa.
Yeah.
Even the name, mate. Even the name Aston Villa, a very sort of Roman-esque name. Soldier Field with those big colonnades, those big columns. It looks like an amphitheater. I mean, I think this is a perfect match.
And it's not a bad time to be getting into the Chicago Bears. They've just appointed a new head coach who was the guy who was in charge of what's gone on at the Lions for the last few years. So the hopes are high in Chicago. They've got a decent quarterback. They've got an excited head coach. They are always.
You got the Packers in the division, mate. Dream on. I love Chicago.
So, let's go.
They've had a bad press unfairly recently from certain quarters without being political. And let's just say that's a great place.
I'm happy with that.
Great night out, as is Birmingham. I think if you're a Villa fan, I think the Bears are a good match.
Great. I'm happy with that. Let's see the second. Let's see. Yeah, we've done that. I think we've done a good job there. Should we hear a second one?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah,
really good question.
Hi guys, my name's Craig Davis from Worcester. Pretty simple question, really. When they move franchises from one city to another, which has happened a fair bit over the years, where do the new fans come from? Like, because if you did that in any other sport, they wouldn't get a big following. You look at Wimbledon, MK Dons in football. They're pretty much hated by everybody because they just stole a team and moved it to Milton Keynes. So where does the following come from when the Raiders move from one big city to another, or whoever else? And just for the sake of it, Ravens fan started supporting them probably just before their big Super Bowl win. Ray Lewis, incredible. Cheers, guys.
God, talk about a sting in the tail.
Yeah, because
but a great question. And then he throws in the Baltimore Ravens at the end of it, and then Ray Lewis.
Well, and also off the back of talking about franchises moving or clubs changing, because isn't that the history of the Baltimore Ravens? So just talk us through that. So the Cleveland Browns
in the double AFC, I believe. Some people would say the greatest football team ever, that 1950s Browns team, possibly.
Yeah.
They won a ton of championships in their league. Then they merged the leagues, and they won in the NFL as well. So named after their first coach, Paul Brown.
What? That's why they're called the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah. Of course, and then coincidentally, their most storied player of all time would have been Jim Brown.
Yeah, of course.
The Cannonball himself. But yeah, they named after Paul Brown. Great idea. You have to imagine the Chicago Ditkers.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you'd have to be
great,
careful.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
But what happened? But what happened then? So they did they move the Browns, or they split?
So right. So there's various ways that teams move around the NFL. So the Cleveland Browns upped sticks and went to Baltimore. They weren't allowed to call themselves the Browns because I think the city of Cleveland owned the name. Part of the way they sweetened the deal with Cleveland and avoided a bunch of legal stuff was to say, we'll give you a countdown, and within a certain number of years, we will give you another franchise called the Cleveland Browns. And there was like a countdown clock in the middle of the city there, counting down to when they had the Cleveland Browns back.
Wow.
In the meantime, because they'd gone to Baltimore.
Did they know then just how bad they were going to be once they got them back? Because they've never been the same again, have they? That's really harsh.
Back. It's the way of the draft.
Yeah.
So they then put I think, which is quite was a modern thing in the sort of back in the day there, was to put it out to the fans for a name, and they came up with the Raven. So they became the Baltimore Raven.
I think it's because of Edgar Allan Poe.
It is because of that, yeah. But that was one of them.
Poem.
But they put it out to the population. That was one of the. Yeah, I like the name. I'm back in my British American football days. The London Ravens were the team. The question, though, I think it's because they grow up with in professional sports used to a franchise system, and we're not used to that.
Yeah. Okay.
We never talk about teams being franchises; they're teams. We So I don't get it, if I'm very honest with you. You mentioned Chris mentioned LA there. That's a case in point because they've had so many teams in LA that have left, and then in some cases come back. That's the weird thing. You imagine being like an LA Raiders fan, then they go to Oakland, the other side of a very big state, and then they come back, and then you're a Raiders fan again.
There's also something, I think, in the obviously like the small amount of NFL teams there are. So it is like if you are living in an area and a team arrives within a 2-hour radius, then it's very easy for you to suddenly then adopt them as a team. It's not like you would then, exchange out from a team. There aren't many teams to be local to.
There's such demand in the NFL, and they expand so rarely, and so it's so measured when they do it, and they really wait for the demand to be up there. And even with up in sticks, they've got to. I mean, the one that springs to mind was the one that was literally overnight was Indianapolis. We should do that as one where they just became Baltimore Colts became Indianapolis overnight. Literally packed the team over the trucks and drove off. Didn't tell anybody. Virtually.
What? Really?
Oh yeah. Oh, it was crazy. Literally a fleet of U-Haul, big trucks, and took every lock, stock, and barrel across the country to Indianapolis.
Oh, we should definitely do an episode on that.
In Baltimore woke up with no team.
Oh my God! Yeah. And then they went and stole Cleveland's.
And that was The thing was, after that, the NFL sort of cracked down a little bit and sort of said, okay, well, we understand this. They're businesses. We always think of teams as teams, and they're sort of businesses and franchises as well over there. So after that, it's in everyone's interest in the NFL for all the teams to be well supported and successful. So if you're one of the other 30 owners, then you don't want your team playing in front of not many people and not selling a lot of shirts.
Yeah.
You want them to be playing in a big market, selling loads of stuff, loads of advertising deals. So it's in your interest. So they follow the money, but it's very odd. I find it very odd. I find it very odd when you just change teams. Like that MK Dons one is a good one. It's as close as we've got to it. And there was uproar about that. And they've been the bad boys ever since. But over there, that's not the case. I mean, and like you said, if you live in Las Vegas and then suddenly the Raiders turn up, you're a Las Vegas Raiders fan.
Yeah, absolutely. The weird one for me is when, like, you look at what's happened recently with LA and there's the Rams and the Chargers sharing a stadium. And you just kind of go, why
well, New York did that. New York did that for years and years. Do they still, they don't still do it, I don't think. I don't know. Should know this. They shared that, which wasn't even in New York. They shared the New Jersey Meadowlands.
Yeah.
For years and years. Well, Green Bay used to play in 2 stadiums. Used to play in Milwaukee and Green Bay.
Well, I hope that's answered your question. It was a great question. Right, we've got time for one more speak pipe, and then we'll get in with the next. We might have to call it something other than speak pipe.
I like it.
Let's hear it.
Question for the pod. Why, oh why, oh why,
good
do
start.
They call it football when only 2 people on each team kick the ball? Thanks, guys. From James on the Suffolk coast.
James on the Suffolk coast.
James. There is rugby football. There is rugby league football. there is Gaelic football, there is association football, there is rugby, like I said, rugby union football, there's American football, there's Canadian football, right? There's various footballs. Traditionally, there is the old football games that go back hundreds of years in this country, which have now morphed into like an EDL rally where you get your head kicked out. Right? But I mean, they're just called football.
Those clips on social media of like 40 lads crammed up on the roof of the Ladbrokes.
There's always some bloke hanging off the top of a Ladbrokes door trying to kick someone in the head.
Like the grand old tradition.
The short answer is they've always called. I think it would have been I reckon, this is my personal theory.
Oh yeah,
is a lot of sports back in the day, outdoor sports, tended to be horse based. So there would have been polo, there would have been racing, there would have been point to points, there would have been all these sorts of things.
Hello, this
and
is
football is a game played on foot. Doesn't matter if you're
played on foot, not on horse.
Yes, not to do with what part of your body you use to control the ball. Because I mean, association football, you don't have to use your foot. You just can't use your arm. You can use your head, your neck, your forehead, your chest, your belly, your bum, your flipping thighs, knees, foot, chins. Doesn't matter.
It's not called bum ball, James.
It's to do with being on foot.
I love that. I've never heard that answer before, Bubs.
No, that's because I've just made it up. But I think, I've always thought that. That's what I believe. If you're going to go somewhere on foot, it just means you're not on a car, you're not on a bus.
It involves a ball and it's played on foot. End of question.
Exactly. But he's right.
That's great.
But tip of the hat for him for saying 2 players. Did he say 2 players per team that kick? So
yeah, and it's also
I'll give him credit there.
It is also worth remembering, and I only realised this when we were looking into the history of Lambeau Field in the last episode, was just how late on in the development of the game that the forward pass, the throwing and catching that we think of as the preliminary part of the game, that came in later, like it'd been being played for a good few decades before that was seen as a workable tactic.
Yeah.
And it was just,
we'll do this one episode, but there were lots of restrictions when it kicked off, when it first started. And of course, any player can score a drop goal from any part of the field still. There's a lot of weird little rules around kicking in the NFL.
I've always said when I become a head coach, I'm chiefly going to operate in laterals and drop kicks, reinvent the sport.
Now, didn't someone take the free? Is it called a free kick? Didn't one happen last season somewhere?
Yeah. Where you can drop it out your hands.
Basically mark a ball and you can place kick from the mark.
Yeah.
See, so football, good question, and you hear it quite a bit. Not to to denigrate it, just saying that I think it's because it's a game played on foot.
I'll take it. Well, get your speak pipes in. Remember, we can match you up with a franchise. Ask us those questions. There isn't a question stupid enough. We'll tackle them all. And also let us know how you got into American football. How did you discover your team? What was your route in? I
love obscure reasons as well. The more obscure, the better for these sorts of things.
Get them in. Right, before we get into this week's subject, I'm intrigued by your shirt. What are you wearing for us this week, Bubs?
I am wearing the number 15 shirt from the Packers. Because we're going to cover the Cowboys.
Yeah,
we're one of those teams that like to wear the away shirt quite a bit.
They do, that blue shirt. And white. Yeah.
I'm wearing the Packers away shirt with the number and name of. Here's a pop quiz for you. Quarterback during the Packers' first 2 Super Bowl wins.
Oh, Brett. Is it Brett Starr?
Hello, dear listeners. What happened then is Tom asked me what shirt I was wearing. I tried to show it off by spinning round and showing the back of the shirt, thereby unplugging my microphone,
knocking the camera
MacBook off the desk,
unplugging the mic. Long story short, it's
Right,
Bart Starr.
It's Bart Starr, okay? All right, Bart Starr. Bought me by my lovely mate Steve from our Sunday night club. He bought me this as a present.
Beautiful.
I love Bart Starr, but that's for another time. But yeah, and you've just gone with the old T-shirt today and the old Tom shirt in the background. I see.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. There's one of the new breakout stars of the Packers is Zach Tom. So I couldn't really. That's a great shirt to get, isn't it? Really. So that isn't a personalised shirt. That's Zach Tom.
I have got one of them.
So,
you saw my personalised one. I wore it to the Spurs game.
Yeah,
Bebbins 72.
Beautiful. Well, it's a nice lead-in actually, because for the first time in a couple of seasons, there's a new player where I thought, oh God, I might have to get that shirt because there was a blockbuster trade this week where the Green Bay Packers. And it was done by this week's subject. So the reason we chose this week's subject, there's a cracking new documentary on Netflix. It's called America's Team, the Gambler and His Cowboys, covering Jerry Jones and his reign as... and it's highly recommended. And for that reason, we chose Jerry Jones as this week's topic whilst looking at the Cowboys franchise. And it just so happens that this week he's done another kind of, we'll look at it, but his kind of career as owner and general manager of the Cowboys is full of kind of controversial moments, big decisions.
Yeah.
He sees himself as this kind of dice shooting oilman gambler who makes these, kind of big, brave decisions. And he's done it again. He's done it again this week. He's traded what many people think are the best. He's the best defensive player in the league, and he's traded him to the Green Bay Packers.
Yes, please.
I mean, I can't remember since I've started following the NFL. I was giddy from the news of a trade of a player. But it's quite a good excuse to look at Jerry Jones. And I think by looking at Jerry Jones, we can also look a little bit at, like some of the business side of the NFL and the teams, because I know we did look a little bit at the players involved in this documentary in the 90s. I'm sure they'll come up because they are a joy to cover. Yeah. But it's the 90s Cowboys is when Jerry Jones had his big success. But let's get into it. I mean, are you enjoying the doc? I've watched all but one episode.
Well, we're the same then. I'm on 7 now, and there's 8.
So I've watched the 8th episode. I haven't watched the 7th one yet.
Well, it's in partnership with NFL Films, and my love for NFL Films is well known. I think it's a fantastic. I mean, on the other pod I do on the Social Distance Sports Bar at Distant Pod, we cover a documentary every week. So we've done 270 odd sports documentaries in the last 5 years. This is right at the top.
This is a soap opera 365 days a year.
Texas is football country. The whole in Texas Stadium so God could watch his favorite team, the Cowboys.
When I bought the team, I was Darth Vader.
Dallas fans aren't happy.
Last year, they were 1-15.
I said, Dad, I don't know anything about running a football team. And he looked me in the eye and he said, neither do I.
We were gambling my family's whole fortune, so I had to take risks. And it started with Jimmy Johnson.
Get part of this, man. Asthma life. Get over there on that other field and have some asthma.
And he made practice hell, so the game is heaven. We were ready.
Showtime.
All of a sudden, it was a runaway train.
Oh, baby!
Everywhere we went, they were icons.
We played hard, and then we played hard.
With that success, you also get disruption.
Police officers came to me, and they pulled the gun. Open the door right now!
Jerry is that disruptor, that innovator.
You're not much of a gambler unless you're going against a popular trend.
No one ever thought Jerry had the guts to fire Jimmy. You don't know half the stuff that was happening. Playing for the Cowboys is different.
The most valuable sports franchise in the world.
No matter what they say, they can't prepare you. You just got to experience it.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
We do it our way, baby.
I thoroughly enjoyed the first 7. So I'll be very, unless the last one of the series is an absolute stinker. Well, I can't see why it would be. They do it so well, mate. I think I read some criticism on that saying it's a bit of hagiography on Jerry Jones. Well, documentaries are hagiographies by definition, right? People said the same thing about the Michael Jordan one. Yeah, of course it's going to say great things about Michael Jordan, right? It's a Jerry Jones and the Cowboys doc. But I do think he's brutally honest in parts, and they get the people that he's fallen out with on there as well. It's not just like the people he's got on with. And he is one of those characters that is very, very divisive. Like he splits a room, Jerry, and he doesn't care.
I mean, he's perhaps the most divisive figure in a sport full of divisive figures.
I think him and Al Davis, when he's at the Raiders, are the same, very similar sort of characters, I think. But the difference with Jerry Jones, I've watched, like I said, 7 of the 8 episodes now, and I've known about the first game I ever saw live was the Cowboys in '86 when they played at Wembley. But I mean, he wasn't there then. But since I remember him taking over and all the controversy with Landry going, all that sort of stuff. It's impossible not to like him for me.
That is the crazy thing about it. Now, I think obviously
I really like him.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it. That's it. And it isn't that it's a puff piece and they're going like, he's a good guy, really. Like, he comes across as an absolute arsehole at times.
Yeah, at times.
Like, he's clearly a terrible person.
But why?
His moral compass is clearly kind of like firmly set. He's kind of a living embodiment of capitalism, And when you look at his kind of what he's done to he's transformed the game. He's turned it into massively what it is.
Yeah.
And part of that is kind of like the sports kind of journey into mass kind of commercialism and all of that.
I found that. Sorry, mate, go on.
But he's not. It's unapologetic, and he is fundamentally a salesman, and he succeeds in this show.
I find
selling
characters like him
experience.
Fascinating anyway.
Yeah,
characters that come from fairly lowly roots and have to use their own recognizances to succeed in life, right? But he is that on steroids. Like it is
yeah.
To grow up above a shop. His dad had a grocery shop in Arkansas, and they sort of grew up there.
Yeah.
But he said from a young age, he's put a little bow tie on at 6-7 years of age and trying to get people into the store and get them to spend their money. And so that he's in it from his earliest memories of sales, right? And then his dad would bring in, imagine this at the time, he's born in 1943, Jerry. So this would have been in the very early 1950s, post-war. And he's getting live music in to bring people into the store to buy food, buy their groceries, right? And he understands
just don't get that anymore, do you? You don't get a band in the Tesco Express on a Friday night.
No, but you know what? But what would you do if there was one? And now we got a lot of choice, right? If we got Asda and Waitrose and bloody Tesco and Sainsbury, if someone said to me Counting Crows are playing in Tesco, fuck are they?
What aisle?
Cancel the Asda shop. We're going to Tesco to watch Counting Crows.
It's a tough gig, that is, Bubs. You ever played a supermarket?
We've done worse, mate.
It's a tough gig, that is.
Well, sweet, but to grow up with that spirit, and then you just think, okay, well, he's just some, like when someone like Alan Sugar over here got involved with football, with Spurs and that,
Yeah.
And he came from a Barrow boy background. The big difference in like someone like Alan Sugar and someone like Jerry Jones, right, is Jerry lived it as well. Like when he went to Arkansas and played football, and he said, if I was honest, I spent 5% of the time studying, 95% trying to make the football team. Yeah. In his third year university, he gets into the Arkansas team. We were a fucking good side, right? And then by his senior year, they win the national championship. So he's in a national championship college football team. He wasn't some mug.
For those that don't know the college game, like that is a huge deal.
Massive.
Over in America. Like to be a national champion at college level, people care so much about college
and
football.
you can
in
play.
America.
You can play football. If you've won a national championship, if you're on that, I think the rosters then and those who have been about 40 players. If you're one of those 40 players on a national championship side, you can play football, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And he loves the game. And then his dissertation, or whatever they call it over there, thesis, whatever they call it.
Thesis, yeah.
Is on marketing in professional football.
And how to commercialise.
Because you could just see that from his background, you're not selling this. This is like a rich man's fancy. Like it's just, it loses money. It's just an indulgence. But he could see, well, this should be massive. Because college football, people who don't understand much about the college game, like when he was playing football in the 50s and then getting involved with football in the 60s, it was really struggling.
Yeah.
Professional football. I mean,
the college
game
football
was much bigger. And
he took all of that stuff from college football, things like the cheerleaders and the pep rallies and the razzle dazzle that all the college kids really go for, and brought it into the Cowboys and kind of,
when you have a pep
unashamedly.
rally where there's no game there and they're going away, and he put 70,000 people in the stadium for a pep rally. And
Which is, so just for to define pep rally, it is just you're going down to cheer your team on, getting on.
It'd be like
coach.
if Cardiff City were playing up in Sheffield, we fill out Cardiff City Stadium and people saying, yeah, go on, Cardiff.
Have a good trip.
It's mad. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But he's such a complex individual, Jerry Jones, right? I've been squirreling through Google, desperate to find a Welsh link because he's called Jones and he's
yeah, okay.
If you're a white bloke called Jones in the South,
that's the rules.
Yeah, you probably at some point in your family tree there's Welsh in there, right? If you're a black American and you called Jones, there's going to be at some point in your history a bad Welsh person, right? Who's either the captain of a slave ship or a plantation owner, right?
Yeah.
But if you're a white person called Jones, there's a good chance that you're, you must be. I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it. We're having it. But
I think you're welcome to him. I think a lot of Cowboys fans would say these days. And
you cannot have. This is the thing, right? And we both support a team that hasn't got an owner. You can't have a visionary, and you can't have someone who does things their own way. And brings you all that success in the 90s. In a league, let's not forget, which is geared up in every way to make teams have parity, right?
Yeah.
Drafts, salary caps, and everything else, right? You can't have an owner that gives you that dynasty team. And then when he starts doing things his own way and it goes wrong, you think, this owner's a dick. Well, mate, it's the same bloke.
It's kind of what
he rolls the dice.
It's what the New England Patriots are kind of dealing with now. In this, that's our current example of a post-dynasty franchise where the owner is still wouldn't relinquish control, has had the most successful dynasty, but is now on in a downwards kind of spiral for a while. And the fans, what can you do? You can't forget of all.
Well,
the
I think we're like
success
Kraft in that. The difference, like I said, going back to Jerry, is that he's a football man. I found the bit with him, the first couple of episodes of this, when it's mostly the story of him and Jimmy Johnson. And that's a story in itself, that him and Jimmy were in the same national team.
So they were college roommates.
Yeah.
Because they both had their names started with J. So they were in the same college team. They were college roommates. Yeah. And he always said to him, when I buy a club, you'll be the coach.
And he did exactly that.
And he did it. Yeah.
And to be, Landry had a couple of bad seasons. They weren't the team they'd been. But he was still, like, if you're my age and you're like in the NFL, he was iconic, Tom Landry, in the suit and the hat on the sidelines, very stoic on the sidelines.
It would be a bit like buying Man United and getting rid of Alex Ferguson.
But immediately.
Yeah.
Not waiting to see how he goes.
Coming
not
in
for
and
another season. Saying, right, you go.
So it's worth
when you fire a coach and 100,000 people turn up.
Yeah.
To watch him leave the city after he's been fired.
That's the only thing more boring than the pep rallies. Come to the stadium and cheer the team before they go and play a game, and then 100,000 of you out on the streets to watch an old dude go to his retirement.
Imagine like Sean Dyche gets the sack, and like 250,000 people set up to say goodbye
on
to
the
him.
Streets of Burnley. But that is the like.
I like Sean Dyche, by the way. So
he's great bloke. Don't worry, but yeah, like 100,000 people on the streets of Dallas to say goodbye to Tom Landry. So he was this beloved kind of figure, one of the legends of the game.
Jerry just brings him in face to face. Doesn't fuck around. He doesn't leave anybody else to do.
Yeah,
and there's why I find Jerry Jones such a compelling character, and obviously he got massive flaws, right? And he admits that. There's a couple of things like that first press conference, right? Tex Schramm, who's been there forever, the general manager, right? All through all the glory years, he's been there forever since the franchise started.
So he's won Super Bowls. He's won 2
He's
Super Bowls
in the press
as
conference,
general manager,
and Jerry Jones says, "And I want your job."
Yeah,
and points to him, and I'm the boss, so if I want your job, I've got your job. So basically, Tex Schramm finds out he's getting fired in a press conference.
It's awful. He's awful. Like, that's the thing about, like, he's an awful man to do those things.
I thought, fuck, I couldn't.
but
then it's there is that side of him, and then there's the side he talks about. It's so well done. They mentioned the oil thing early on when he talks about that gamble, where he says, you know, he revels in the fact that he was in so much debt, like he was the best to get into debt.
Yeah.
He then gambles everything, their house, their entire family wealth, everything, on this last 800 grand for a well. And they hit oil, and they hit a big oil field, and he's a gusher. And the way he talks about hitting that oil for the first time, you think, there's a bloke who loves that gamble as well. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
and
imagine saying to your family, like, you know, like what?
That's how he's lived. That's how he's spent his career.
I left a good job.
Gambler.
I left a good job to start doing comedy, right? Which was a bit of a gamble. But the sort of rule was, Kelly, my wife was just about our first kid, and we just thought, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it, right? And that was a big gamble, and for a long time, it didn't pay off at all, right? And it was hard to keep going, but you'd do it. But I said, it'd be different now if I said, you know, my kids are getting old. You know, I've got 2 kids growing up. We've got a nice house. We're pretty set. If I then said, Kelly, I'm going to gamble everything on this, okay? If I don't get this right
on the Any Given Wednesday podcast,
I said, look, Kelly, I found I can buy an oil stake for a well, right?
Yeah. It's all.
Listen, take all of our money, all of our savings, all the kids' savings, the house, the car, everything. And by the way, the previous 10 haven't worked out.
So that explains a lot about his mindset.
Jerry,
really?
you sure?
It's like, that's his mindset to running the football team as well. He's kind of he's constantly there's a point halfway through where him and Jimmy Johnson part ways, which we'll get to shortly, I'm sure. But and his wife says to him, "You can't just do things on an even keel, can you? You can't just be okay with good."
This is why I love working with you. I was just going to say the bit that I find the most telling in the whole doc so far was that.
Yeah.
Where he loves the challenge so much. And he loves the road less traveled on the rocky road. They win 2 Super Bowls. Back to back.
Yeah.
And then because of his ego and Jimmy Johnson's ego, you know, it wasn't like Jimmy didn't have an ego in the room. He fires him.
Yeah.
After back-to-back Super Bowls. And
I mean,
the bit with his wife's like, why do you do this?
Yeah. It's actually an incredible advert for, you know, all the podcasts you listen to that advertise BetterHelp and therapy and how easy it is to get therapy now on your phone and stuff. This is like a walking advert for therapy, because what you have are these 2 guys like Jimmy Johnson and like if they were just in therapy and had someone to talk through these issues with, they'd have won 6 or 7 Super Bowls. It's like but instead they have this insanely toxic kind of relationship.
Do you know, I got both sides of it.
Yeah,
because Jimmy was a fantastic college coach. He gets brought in for his first NFL job with Jerry. Jerry sticks by him for a couple of seasons when they get even
hard.
worse.
Yeah.
They go 1-15, right?
Oh yeah,
win 1, lose 15.
So let's just, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan there, this guy's come in. He's not from Texas. Big no-no.
Not just that, they're from the rival Arkansas, you know, the sort
from
of...
Arkansas. He's fired Tom Landry, who is the legend of your club, one of the most legendary coaches. Fired Tex Schramm. So both of those people have won 2 Super Bowls. And you've hired a college coach who hasn't coached in the NFL before. That's in the first 2 weeks.
Who then completely bombs.
Then loses, goes 15-1 in your first season.
1 of 15.
The most losses in their NFL history.
Yeah.
So only wins one
I get
game.
why Jerry was expecting loyalty from Jimmy after that.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about this as well as the tentpole moment. So there's that. And then their first huge strategic decision is one of the most famous trades in the history of NFL, the Herschel Walker trade. And even if you don't know that much about the trades and things that happen in the NFL, that is the most famous trade in the history of the NFL, the Herschel Walker trade. He was their only good player, the best player they had, an incredible running back. And they trade him away to the Minnesota Vikings for 5. The quote is, you swapped a Rolls Royce for 5 Toyotas.
And the thing is, right, you can't, if you're new to the game, you don't make it in the NFL unless you're very, 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 very good at football, right? So they would have been 5 very, 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 very good football players. But they would, and not to do them a disservice, they were journeyman players. They weren't franchise players. They weren't big star names, right?
Yeah.
They weren't like your big starters. And everyone thought he was crazy. But what he did, and again, it's him being ruthless, right? And him being a businessman who really understands the business of football. Was he, in that small print somewhere would have been, if we cut these 5, because they always think when you get players in a trade, not draft picks, when you get a draft pick, it's a real long shot they're going to make the NFL, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you get a third round pick and they're going to get a team. They're probably not going to get any team, right? So you got 5 players who've been through that process and are good enough to make an NFL roster, right? In the small print somewhere would have been, if these don't make the team, we'll have draft picks instead.
Yeah.
Right. So he cuts them before they even play it down.
All 5 of them.
Gone. I was like, what the fuck?
And ends up with 5 draft picks.
Yeah.
And so what you suddenly have is the chance to rebuild your team. And so that's what they're doing. So Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones are rebuilding their team. They trade in their prize cow for the beans and off they go. And, you know, Cowboy fans are setting fire to their shirt. And it's what I love about doing this podcast with you is the fact that we're looking at that trade, the week of the Micah Parsons trade, and Cowboy fans are sticking their shirts on barbecues and punching their tellies and crying. And it's like, you know, here we go again. He's still doing it at the age of 80 years old. Jerry Jones is still rolling the dice and saying, look, give me 2 first-round picks. Do you know what? He looks good for 80, but he's all... It's because he's exactly always the same looked 46. Well, like when he was a college player, he looks about 60. Have you seen like the picture of him when he's with his like?
When he bought the
sweetheart?
Cowboys, he was 46.
I mean, his life, like all that risk and debt, it's not good for your looks. I'll tell you.
When
that.
he took over the team and his family are there, which I love, he does that. Right, he's got his 2 sons and his daughter there, and his wife, obviously. And his daughter says, "Daddy, what am I going to do? I know nothing about running a football team." He says, "Nor do I."
Yeah,
that's not. Oh, that's all right then.
If you're a Cowboy fan, that's not what you want to hear. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
you say about he's one of those people who really changed football. The bit when, if you don't know, the NFL sort of operates like he says it operates like a cartel, which it does. It's all very sort of socialist in the way it splits everything up. And used to do deals, league-wide deals for everything. And he goes off on his own, gets a deal with Pepsi, even though the league's with Coca-Cola, gets a deal with Nike, even though the rest of the league's with Reebok, you know, and takes the NFL take him to court then, the owners take him to court. And they're suing him for $300 million. right?
Yeah.
He then countersues for $750 million, right? And there's that bit which I absolutely loved it, right? Because you can't deny the fact he loves the Cowboys, he loves football, right?
Yeah.
The bit where he said he's in that meeting and he's like, I walked out and I was tearing up. I turned around and I said, I know that if I lose this $300 million, you're going to take the team off me.
Yeah.
He says, but if I win, I'm coming after you for every fucking penny.
Such a funny moment because I was genuinely, he got me. He was like, you genuinely moved me.
I thought he was going to start crying and say, oh, let's just make up, lads.
Yeah. He said I was about to leave the room and I broke down in tears.
Yeah.
You know,
Come
you win, you'll
every
take my
fucking
team.
penny.
But then I turned and said, I'll come for every fucking penny. And he won. Like they settled. They let him have his, and that's where, that's one of the tentpole moments. You've got a flag. You've got him buying the Cowboys in the first place. You've got him doing the Herschel Walker trade. One of the other flagpole moments is this, where the NFL sue him and he countersues the NFL and wins because he fundamentally changed. He supercharged the NFL to what it is now. This whole, the fact that franchises can have their own sponsorship, like if the Arizona Cardinals want to be sponsored by New Balance.
Like,
go on.
I think I mentioned last week Joe Namath of the Jets. I'm sure we'll do that at some point. But he became the show business, like Broadway Joe, the fur coats and he changed football in the 60s. Jerry Jones comes along in the 90s and completely changed it. And he says early on, I knew that I could turn this into a 365 days a year soap opera.
And that's what it is. That's what it is now. It's like he foresaw the fact that there's 24 hours, 7 days a week rolling news about sport. He did the deal with Murdoch. He's the one who brought Murdoch and Fox into the NFL. He's the one who pioneered all of those things.
I thought he was crazy working with Fox. And Fox now are like the football channel.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, he was ahead of his time, and he was, he's just this, he's like he's a kind of pedestal capitalist. If you're into capitalism, it's like you should study this guy because he's just obsessed. And that's the strange thing about the documentary is it gets to finish on this kind of high of the fact that here's a guy who took over a failing franchise and now it's the most expensive franchise in the world. It's the most, as a sports team, it is the single most, he's worth $16 billion. God knows what the Cowboys are worth. But what comes with that is the fact that they haven't won a thing in 30, going on 30 years now. Like 29 years or something. And so there's this huge drought, which is, the comparison to Man United in a kind of shorter sense. But, it's that thing of Man United are this huge team around the world and they make money and yet they're failing. And it's not even that actually, because Old Trafford is obviously in a terrible way and their training facilities. He rebuilt their stadium. AT&T Stadium is one of the best stadiums on the planet. Their training facility, the Star, is just the envy of the world. So he's looked after that. The infrastructure that he's put in. He's looked after that club so well.
The players seem to love him. The players seem to love him.
I bet they do though, because he pays them really well. So
Deion, when they lost to the 49ers and Deion, lit it up as Deion was wont to do all the time. When he goes on a talk show or something, he says, Deion, if you're listening, he knew he was becoming a free agent. Talk to me. I'm going to sign you. Come play for the Dallas Cowboys. And they say, listen, I knew how much room was left in the salary cap. And then we signed him on a $45 million contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just makes it, he makes stuff. That commercial, they did the pizza commercial. What's it going to be, Deion, 15, 20 million, both bars, all that sort of stuff. But what a perfect fit. I mean, how good does Deion Sanders look in this doc?
Oh, incredible.
In that cowboy hat, right? He was the perfect fit for that team.
Not to be confused with Dean Saunders, just for those listeners who are new to the game. We're not talking...
Whose sister used to cut my wife's hair in Swansea.
There you go. Yeah,
not him.
Not Dean Saunders.
Primetime Dean.
Primetime Dean, no. We're talking Deion Sanders. Primetime Deion Sanders.
I've never thought of that before. I will never be able to unthink that ever again. That's superb.
Never
Man.
the twain shall meet. That's a photo shoot I'd be
I'd
into,
have called
actually.
Deion Saunders.
Got to link them all to Wales. Yeah, exactly. Prime time. Deion Sanders. Fuck. It's like he was the perfect kind of figure to be those. How about them Cowboys? Those 90s players,
but also the way the good coaches and obviously Jerry's a huge personality. Brings in Jimmy, who's a huge personality. Jimmy was a real disciplinarian. Troy Aikman makes a great point, saying that when Jimmy was here, he could be the bad cop, and Troy could be the good cop. I could go in the huddle, Jimmy would bawl us out, and I said, listen, don't listen to him. Listen, we're going to do this. And he said, well, I agreed with everything he was saying, but I could play that off. Barry came in much more laid back, and then suddenly Troy's got to be a ball breaker, which he doesn't want to do.
Barry Switzer comes in as he's like the renegade PE teacher that would be at your school. Like, he's like that kind of energy. God. He's like, I had a teacher that would like, after PE, he came around one day and he said,
let's just go in.
He's the kind of guy who'd like, he went, Richard Jenkins over there, I found gay porno in his bag. He'd like do that. And it's like, you can't do that, mate. He was like your wild card PE teacher. Yeah. That's what Barry Switzer is. He's like, he's wild card PE teacher energy.
Oh, because his background is crazy, Barry Switzer. Do you know the story of Barry Switzer?
Yeah.
Well, he mentions in the doc that basically his mother was ended up being an alcoholic and into various drugs and stuff. Yeah, and it comes to give him a kiss. Well, he's in college at the time, going to his senior year, and he doesn't want to kiss his mum because she's drunk. The next thing he hears is a shotgun going off, and his mum's taking her own life.
Yeah,
and then I think in 1972 was it? Like when Switzer was only like 30 odd. His dad was a bit of a philanderer and always had been. He got shot by a girlfriend. For fooling around with somebody else, and then on the way to the hospital they crashed, and him and the girlfriend both died in a car crash. So I mean,
yeah, it's not the luckiest night. She shot him, then regretted it, put him in the car, and was driving so fast to the hospital she drove off a bridge and they died.
Yeah, so that's his background. So when the player said he loved his players, I got that completely with Barry Switzer.
Well, the thing I love,
and the real troubled characters, like
I was going to say Charles Haley, one of the stars of the.
I found that really touching.
One of the stars is this, incredible, fearsome defensive player, Charles Haley.
What a player he was!
Oh my God, an incredible character as well, and clearly bipolar. Back in an atmosphere where you couldn't really diagnose someone as being bipolar. Obviously now, later on, he's bipolar and he's on his meds. But like when they signed him, he was just that guy, the crazy guy.
Well, when they signed him, as outstanding as he was seen as toxic in a team environment. Didn't they say that Charles Haley went into the coach's office, took his knob out, peed all over the desk? Yeah, because he wanted to get traded.
Because he wanted to get traded, and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, that would work.
That would work. But like, he's clearly got all of that going on, and it's very, very touching the way Barry Switzer is the first coach to ever actually go around his house and sit with him and connect with him, and it's really touching. And actually, I think Barry Switzer comes across as a really good guy in this. Like he's like got this crazy energy, and he's like he does this kind of, and you can see the act that he's doing of like drawing the attention with the media away from his players by putting it on him. He's fascinating.
With your filmmaking head on as well. I mean, it's a spectacular looking documentary. Jerry comes across, like I said, very flawed, but it's really interesting. But the way it's lit, the way they light Barry Switzer, it looks epic.
Yeah,
like I just thought this is like a cowboy film. Not like I mean I don't mean like a John Wayne cowboy film. Switzer looks like he should have just been part of the Wild West. looks like some aging gun. He's 87 in this documentary, Barry Switzer.
We should talk to the hire those guys for our lighting. See what they could do for us.
Well, I'm trying it now. I'm going for the Switzer look. I've got to let the hair go grey, right? I've put a bit of mascara on the moustache.
I've gone for the Emmett Smith shiny head.
They all look so good, man. They're all like a lot older than me.
Good.
Michael Irvin looks great.
Yeah.
But how do you deal? The only episode of the doc that I thought I could do without this, really, all the White House stuff about the women and the doc. So yeah, okay, I get it.
I missed that. That's the ep that I've kind of skipped over, to be honest. And so I've watched the final episode and I've skipped the kind of it all goes wrong kind of stuff because
you haven't missed much of that episode. Because I'll take that as read that stuff. But the fascinating bit is Jerry Jones, and I mean, also how cool's his office?
Yeah, I mean
and he's such a showman. Like, you can't tell me, right? You cannot tell me he can't sign some of that paperwork when the camera isn't on him. Right? But he wants him to know, I'm so busy. I'm always doing deals. Even when I'm talking to you right now on this documentary, I've got to be signing this stuff.
I'm trading Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Maybe that's why you did it. He was too busy thinking about the doc. Yeah, I'll sign something. I'm just in the middle of the doc. Well, what have I just done?
But you imagine, we're only on this. We only go around this old Mortal Call the once.
Yeah.
I tell you what, mate. If you're in his entourage or in his family, life's never boring with Jerry Jones, is it?
No, exactly. What a way!
I don't imagine his kids are going, what a boring day, Dad.
and also what you see,
like a white knuckle ride for 80 years.
Like what you see, what you're listening to as well, is a guy who, when he was 18 years old, said, "One day I am going to own and run a football club." And that is a man who is living and has lived the dream. And like
that's what he says. He's like,
he has absolutely lived his dream. He's done it with his family. That's that's the amazing thing. Is like
he makes a brilliant point when they won the national championship. And they get off the plane, Arkansas, and they're coming back, and he says, "We were all changed after that game. Every player in there was changed." He said, "For me, I realized that I could live. I could live my dream. This is what I want to do." Before we haven't got an awful lot longer left to record it, I suppose. But when you talk about the beautiful madness of Jerry Jones, there's that bit in the '60s where he's out of football but he wants to get into it, and he's various business enterprises. Like, I thought he was always an oil man. He's not. I mean, that was just one of the things he did was oil.
Yeah.
He tried everything.
Pizza parlors,
everything.
Drilling for gas. Shoe salesman, like
so he nearly buys the San Diego Chargers, right? By getting a loan from Jimmy Hoffa and the Teamsters. And he's in an office with Jimmy Hoffa because he's the only guy you can get the money off.
Yeah.
And Jerry's dad says, "Jerry, don't do this." He said, you don't want to miss a payment to Jimmy Hoffa and the Teamsters, right? But what a life, man.
Yeah, what a life.
What a mad, like, certain people have got larger than life lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's even if you put all those people in a room, they would look at Jerry Jones and go, "What?"
There's the sadness that comes from the documentary, and it reminded me an awful lot of Brian Clough and Peter Taylor, where because through pride they separated and never quite connected again, and
they were close.
And they were so close, and they were the best in the world.
Jimmy especially plays that down now.
When they were the best in the world when they were together, and they could have, if they'd have stayed together, the things they could have done. And that's what they had. It's what Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson had. And the end. I will say that the final episode does a really great job of like bringing them back together and finishing in that way, which is something that Clough and Taylor never got to do. So that feels really important.
I'm sure we'll mention this in some pod in the future as well, if people like to listen to it. But they saw the Eagles in this quite a bit, but that sort of Buddy Ryan and Ditka, when they were at the Bears, that was such a good team.
Yeah.
So well coached, but those two were such big egos that couldn't get on with each other. That was it. And they both went their separate ways. Dick can never win anything again. Nor did Ryan.
Yeah.
You just think it's mad, isn't it? Like,
Irving says he thinks they'd have won 5 on the bounce, and it is hard to argue with him. You actually think like that team and the way they were and the characters that they had. And it does beg the question. I mean, like, there's a quote at the end where someone says, Jerry, the owner, is the best in the world. Jerry, the general manager, that's the question. And I think if you are a Cowboys fan, you would probably, I mean, that would be the question mark, I think, is could you have a general manager?
Yeah.
Should there be a general manager? Because they haven't been back to the Super Bowl. They haven't been back really to the NFC Championship game for so long now that you can understand it. You can understand the frustrations of a Cowboy fan.
Yeah, because you know that if he brings a GM in, the GM's not doing the GM job without Jerry Jones looking over his shoulder. He won't be a GM, would he?
Exactly. No, he'd be a GM in name.
The one bit he doesn't strike me as a bloke riddled with regret, right?
No,
but the bit when he,
no.
But he does say that. And what really hurt Jimmy was not them falling out as much as when he said to the press, "There's 500 coaches could have coached that team to Super Bowl." You don't say that, right?
No.
And I think he regrets saying that. And that really, when an 80-year-old bloke tears up thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not true, because they were a fantastically talented team. There's no doubt about that. I mean, and I think Switzer did it in his own way brilliantly. But to make characters like that play for you and play together, you can have Michael Irvin, who's fantastic. Emmett is fantastic. Troikman's fantastic. Haley's fantastic. Yeah, but you've got to make them play together.
Totally. Yeah.
Deion Sanders, but make them play together.
And he built that team. Like Jimmy Johnson built that team. They were the youngest team in the NFL. And he built them and he molded them. And then, so by the time he was finished with them, Barry Switzer could win a Super Bowl with them, but not when he started with them.
I got to get a little shout to my mate Ken from Barry, Big Ken.
Yeah.
Die-hard Cowboys fan his whole life. He's been around the Sunday Night Club a couple of times. Kenny, if you're listening, pal, which you will be, because it was about the Cowboys.
Great.
Look forward to seeing you this season, pal.
Yeah. Same to Burko, a huge Cowboys fan, and we regularly get into it when Packers and Cowboys clash, which is a lot. So shout out to Burko as well, if you've made it this far. If you are a Cowboys fan, listener there, then get in touch on TikTok, get in touch on Instagram, get in touch on, all the ways you can get in touch. Shout down our speak pipe. Let us know how you feel about Jerry Jones. Let us know what it's like to be a Cowboys fan. What's this?
And you know what? If you've got an interest in football, which I'm assuming you have listened to this, and you've got access to Netflix, then
give it a watch.
America's team, the Gambler and His Cowboys, I can highly recommend.
Yeah, it's brilliantly done, and it's something that it's another thing that I think the NFL does better than any other sport is storytelling. Characters and the storytelling and the narratives is, for some reason, the sport that lends itself so perfectly to these kind of Hollywood narratives. And we've got plenty more to get into in future episodes. Watch the doc, get in touch, let us know what you think. And obviously, any other questions that you have for us, there's no question too stupid for us. Get in touch.
Well, one question, Tom.
What's that?
One question.
Yeah, go on.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great.
Right. Thank you, Tom. Thanks,
Pleasure,
everybody.
Bubs. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next time.
Any given Wednesday.